Welcome to the last of the regular split anarchy analysis results and predictions for the playoffs starting in week 10. Now this will be covering the LEC and the LCS's results and predictions entirely, and oh boy, we've got some interesting ones to cover today. And we're going to jump straight into Friday. I'm also including tiebreakers that should take place on Saturday for the LEC and on Monday for the LCS if it went that far. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. Our first matchup on Friday was Rogue taking on SK, and for this matchup we had the boys in blue Rogue in this playoff implication matchup. Now the actual result for this game was an SK win, which is surprising because this was their third win this season, taking them to a very respectable mark in terms of results. Our second matchup of the day was MISFITS taking on Vitality. And for this matchup, we went with the surprising choice of Vitality over MISFITS. And it was such a surprise that they didn't even win. They lost this matchup to the MISFITS, and it wasn't even close. The third matchup of the day was the Kindred Classic. G2 taking on Schalke. G2 needed this game to guarantee themselves first place. And did they win it? Well, yes they do, and they are who we predicted. A fairly easy matchup to say the least. Another big matchup here for playoff place contention. XL taking on OG, and for this matchup we do go with Origin, and do they win? By blooming hell they do. They absolutely decimate XL in this matchup. It's such a huge fashion that XL are on a poor run of form as we end out this split. And we end out Friday in an explosive fashion with Mad Lions taking on Fnatic. For this matchup we went with the Mad Lions, obviously one of our favourite teams this season. Did they win? No. Fnatic yet again dominate a playoff place team that isn't named G2 and absolutely decimate Mad in a very fun matchup. We kicked off Saturday with our anarchy analysis match of the week. Rogue taking on Schalke in another playoff place matchup. Win and Rogue are in the battle for 4th place. Lose, they're locked in 6th. And well, we go with Schalke in this matchup. And guess what? Schalke win. Yeah, Schalke are a good team this year in the end of the season and actually win a match against a playoff place team. Following one crazy matchup to another, we have XL taking on SK. And this matchup, we end up going with XL, thinking that they're going to win this game, and surprisingly, they lose it again. SK get their first 2-0 wins this season against a team that's yet to get a 2-0 week in XL. The third matchup on Saturday was Mad taking on Origin, a top of the table clash between two giants in the game. We went with OG in this matchup, and oh boy were we wrong. Mad actually beat OG here, and it's kind of funny that this happened. Obviously we went with the team that's stronger, and quite a few of our predictions this week have been ruined by meme strats, to say the least. Welcome to the second predictions ruiner if you do vids like me, Vitality versus Fnatic, and by now you can probably tell what I mean by that. For this game we went with Fnatic, and oh boy, did their meme strat lose out on the last play that they were dominating in. Yep, Vitality won this game in a shock win to everyone in the game. Welcome to the third meme matchup of the week, G2 taking on MISFITS. For this matchup we had G2 and with a Teemo in the game with an Aatrox support and a whole lot of randomness, we see G2 pick up the win, and oh boy was it explosive. Our first game of the day here in the LCS is a playoff place contention matchup. 100 Thieves taking on TSM, and obviously for us, we go with TSM in this matchup over the 100 Thieves, and in a very close matchup, that late game after Bjergsen's pentakill, TSM lose out to the 100 Thieves in a shock loss to say the least. Next up, we have Cloud9 versus Evil Geniuses, a good matchup that we go with C9 in, and the actual result was a C9 win over the Evil Geniuses. Sven Skeren does not get revenge over his former team, and it was really interesting to watch. It's do or die time here for Team Liquid, a matchup where they need to win in order to have hopes for qualifying for playoffs. This matchup we go with FlyQuest in over the Team Liquid team, and as a whole it was a very big battle between the two teams that eventually FlyQuest won and beat out Team Liquid in. It's Anarchy Analysis match of the week time between CLG and Golden Guardians. If Golden Guardians win here, they have hopes of qualifying for playoffs in the 6th place spot, whereas CLG need it just for moral victory realistically. Now for this game, we do go with Golden Guardians considering the run of form they're on, and the result obviously favours them. And be sure to check out our Anarchy Analysis match of the week video, where we break down a team fight in the game that won Golden Guardians the game. And finally, our last game on Saturday is Immortals taking on Dignitas, another do or die situation matchup for Dignitas. And for this one, we go with Dig over Immortals in a means for them to actually qualify for playoffs and force tiebreakers on the Monday, and the actual result was an IMT loss. Dignitas did win this game, and yeah, a very good matchup to say the least. We kicked Sunday off in style here with Golden Guardians taking on FlyQuest in a do or die situation for the Golden Guardians. As such, we went with FlyQuest here as they are the stronger team in the current terms of events, and they actually do lose to the Golden Guardians here. GGU forcing tiebreaker scenarios straight out of the gate with this matchup. A lot of playoff place scenarios being unfolded in this day as another game that relies on a team winning. Dignitas taking on TSM here, and we go with TSM in this matchup with playoff place contention, and surprisingly Dignitas beat out this TSM who seem to have struggled in the past 2 weeks to actually win games based on how well their season has actually been. It's Evil Geniuses versus IMT now to give us our third matchup of the day. Yet again, another top 2 scenario matchup here, 2 teams vying out for that second place, where we go with Immortals over Evil Geniuses here, and in the actual result of the game was a Evil Geniuses win, a shock result to me, as I felt that the IMT squad that have been playing in recent weeks have just looked better and better as this season has gotten on. Our second to last regularly scheduled matchup for this season is TL's last ditch hope against the undoubted first seed in NA. C9 versus Team Liquid here, where we go with Team Liquid in hopes that they actually do win and actually make playoffs into a tiebreaker scenario. And shock horror, Team Liquid lose here, and they're out of playoffs for the first time in forever, losing to C9 in such a drastic way. They just were slammed to the ground. Now it's time for our last game in the regular season. CLG and 100 Thieves take into the Rift. If 100 Thieves win this, they go into tiebreakers. If CLG win this, there's more tiebreakers. And obviously we go with 100 Thieves here, the team that have everything to lose, whereas CLG have nothing to lose. And shock, CLG lose here. No surprises there to most, as CLG have just underperformed this season. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we had matches on Monday for the first time in a while, tiebreakers to be played, and I made my predictions live on Twitter before the matches were played. Obviously, as you can see, it was made on the 30th of March, and I went with 100 Thieves over FlyQuest, which actually was 100 Thieves winning. I went with IMT over Dignitas, which Dignitas won. I went with 100 Thieves over Evil Geniuses, which the actual result was an Evil Geniuses win. And I went with Golden Guardians over the winner of the Dignitas match, which obviously was Dig. So I actually got in my predictions here two of them correct. 2 out of 4 is very good. And let's go into our actual results for this week. Well, here in the LEC, our results weren't the best here, as on Friday we only got 2 out of the 5 results correct. On Saturday we only got 2, giving us a total of 4 out of 10, which isn't that good considering just below the average. Our grand total of 64 out of 90 is still, though, better than half the results correct as we come into playoffs and our regular split is over. As for the LCS, we get 2 out of 5 on the Saturday and 4 out of 5 on the Sunday, and our tiebreaker results 2 out of 4, giving us a total of 10 out of 14, giving us a final total of 56 out of 94 for the regular season, which is overall pretty good, and we're kind of catching up to our grand total in the LEC. But that's it for the results part of this video. Let's get into our predictions for the playoff games this season in the LEC and the LCS, where we will be doing individual game scores in terms of how many games each team wins in a series and how many games each team loses in a series, and oh boy, we'll have a final prediction, and we'll be highlighting a few games as our Anarchy Analysis match of the week for each of the regions, as we still have games to cover over there. But without further ado, let's jump into the games. So let's kick off playoffs in style. We're going to start with G2 and the Mad Lions here in an all-out barn burner for moving on to the second round of the winners bracket here in the LEC playoffs. And for this matchup, I've gone with G2, and overall I feel that they're going to win this matchup 3-1. I feel that Mad Lions aren't on the same level as G2 yet, and I feel that G2 should win this matchup with ease overall and should be a very, very good matchup to watch. Next up on the other side of the bracket, we have third versus second here in our winners round, and it's Fnatic versus Origin. And this matchup is going to be very, very close. It's going to be a great and grueling battle between the two teams. Last time these two met up in a best of 5, I do believe Origin won it. However, I still think Fnatic are the better squad here, and Fnatic are going to win this series 3-2. It's going to be close, it's going to be brutal, and it's going to a best of 5, game 5. Who knows how this will end, but it's going to be a barn burner between the two teams in the top 3. And our last matchup here in the LEC is going to be Rogue taking on MISFITS. We're getting 3 best of 5s this week on 3 separate days. And for this matchup, we are going with Rogue over MISFITS. 3-2 scoreline for Rogue, as I feel that Rogue are more of a playoff place team than MISFITS in terms of how they play. They play for more of a best of 5 scenario, and I think that this matchup should showcase why Rogue should be here in playoffs and not some other team. It's time for our second Anarchy Analysis playoff match of the week. It's going to be Evil Geniuses taking on FlyQuest in the first round of the playoffs upper bracket. It's going to be a close matchup here, and as a whole I feel FlyQuest will edge this one out in a 3-2 scoreline. You can kind of tell that I'm unsure of this game. As a whole, I feel though FlyQuest have had the far better season. Even if EG finish in second, FlyQuest have had the more dominant players. They've got candidates for MVP of the split, and as a whole I feel are far superior at the current state of the game. And the last matchup for the week that we can currently predict, as there is two other matches that will happen at a later date, which is going to be 100 Thieves taking on C9 in the other playoff upper bracket matchup. Now for this match, it's kind of obvious that we're going to go for C9. They're far superior this season, they've looked phenomenal, only dropping one game this year to TSM, and I feel they're not even going to drop a game in this series to 100 Thieves. It's going to be a blowout 3-0, and it's going to be a humongously big win, and put C9 in the good position to actually make it to the finals of the playoffs this year. Now, I did say there were two other matches going on this week in the playoffs here in the LCS, and one of them involves TSM and one of them involves Golden Guardians. However, their opponents are undecided at the moment, as it will be the loser of the first two series that are going to be played, the 100 Thieves and C9 and FlyQuest and EG. Now, before I actually predict these games, I think it would be fairer if I get to know the opponents that are going to be in it, instead of just blind picking. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make on my Twitter the predictions for this matchup. As a whole, I feel it should be easier to follow, and I can just simply put the tweet into this video and show that I'm not cheating with these results, and I do believe we should be having less and less of these Twitter prediction videos, but who knows. But that's going to be it for this episode of the Anarchy Analysis predictions. If you enjoyed this, leave a like down below, subscribe if you're new around here if you want to, and I will see you guys later. Peace out.